And it is a lot going on in the world of Caitlin Clark. New sponsorships to the left, new deals to the right. It's a lot going on. We are gonna get to every. Oh, that's a boss move. Oh, that's a crazy boss move. That's a flex. Hey, listen, I understand. You got Nike deals, you got freaking PGA Golf Tour, Live Golf Tour, you got hockey sponsor. I know you got a lot going on, but to turn down 15 M's.
The WNBA just blew up the internet, and it feels unreal. Picture this: Caitlin Clark, the golden face of women's hoops, sitting across from the commissioner with a jaw-dropping $50 million deal right in front of her. Instead of jumping at it, she casually leans back, smirks, and says, "Nah, I'm good." Boom. That money slides back across the table like a bad poker hand nobody wants to touch. Fans are melting down, timelines are going nuclear, and Clark's haters are throwing digital confetti. Somewhere in the league office, the commissioner is probably stress-eating an entire tub of ice cream and wondering what just happened. This isn't just a headline. This is the kind of sports moment that will be memed, tweeted, and argued about for years.
After it started at 5,
right?
But the official final offer was 50.
And get this, before Clark flipped the script, players were over the moon signing deals worth $15 million, and those were usually stretched painfully across a full decade. For years, that was considered massive money in the league, the kind of contract players bragged about and fans debated for weeks. Now, it suddenly feels small, almost outdated, compared to the jaw-dropping figure Clark just turned down without even blinking.
Weeks. He must be making some good dough, and I just think that it was more like a league thing.
She didn't want to be
anything.
Yeah,
she had to give the WNBA.
And I'm sure many offers came to her, especially after that. I think we helped her.
Yeah, make more money
with some more money. If anything, you got a name like Ice Cube offering you $15 million. On publicly, man, you got all that. That's all you need. That's all you need for the other 5 and the other 5 and the other 5 to come together.
But here's where it goes completely off the rails. The WNBA just walked straight into a level of drama that reality TV producers could only dream of. Picture this: the commissioner, grinning ear to ear, slides a record-shattering $50 million deal across the table, probably expecting hugs, tears, and a viral dream come true moment. Instead, Caitlin Clark doesn't even flinch. She shrugs, smiles, and says, "Incredible offer, but no thanks." And just like that, boom, the spark was lit. The league didn't just react, they went full meltdown mode. Fans are still picking their jaws off the floor, Clark's critics are screaming into the void, and the whole thing feels less like a sports negotiation and more like a toddler throwing a tantrum in Walmart because the toy aisle got shut down.
Unrivaled. If y'all thought a few million and some equity was gonna get her to show up and play in your league, you got another thing coming. I said it. If Unrivaled want Caitlin Clark, y'all, a minimum of 10 million plus like 50% ownership of the whole league. That's where we start. That's the starting negotiation point. I might have undersold her, y'all. I might have undersold Caitlin Clark. Look at...
To really understand why Caitlin Clark's rejection broke the internet in half, we've got to rewind the tape and revisit her meteoric rise. Because here's the truth: Clark isn't just a basketball player, she's a living, breathing cheat code. Back in college, she was casually pulling up from distances that looked closer to the parking lot than the three-point line, leaving defenders spinning like background characters in her personal highlight reel. Fans didn't just show up, they camped out, begged for tickets, and packed arenas just to catch a glimpse of the show. She wasn't just a star, she was a spectacle, a once-in-a-generation phenomenon who turned every game into must-see TV.
Is on welfare, okay? If they weren't on welfare, then the league would fold and there would be no women's basketball. And that is basically what has been revealed in this bombshell report about the WNBA being on track to lose roughly $50 million this year. $50 million, which is significantly more than the WNBA had been losing on a yearly basis in the past. Now, again, this is a little bit surprising because of the explosion in popularity of the WNBA due to Caitlin Clark. Okay, but once we get into the details, it's not really all that surprising. But at the same time, reports like this kind of drive home the point that reasonable people have been trying to make about it.
By the time Caitlin Clark finally set foot on a WNBA court, she wasn't just another highly touted rookie. She was a walking economy, a full-on money machine in sneakers. Merch sales didn't just rise, they exploded. Ticket prices shot through the roof. In every arena she played in started looking less like a basketball venue and more like a sold-out Taylor Swift concert. Minus the friendship bracelets, of course. So it made perfect sense when the WNBA decided it was time to lock her in for the long haul. They slid across a jaw-dropping $50 million offer, a number so massive the league had never even dared to whisper it before. And here's the kicker. Before Clark, most WNBA players were grinding on contracts so small they wouldn't even cover an NBA rookie sneaker deal. Caitlin Clark didn't just join the league. She flipped the entire business model on its head and forced everyone to rethink what was possible.
The report dropped that the Big Three reportedly offered Caitlin Clark 15 M's for 10 games, but she declined. Crazy. Her endorsement deals must be pretty decent for her to willingly turn that down, because we know her WNBA salary is nothing to brag about. But for her to do that, I guess I look at it like this. If she were to have accepted that before she even stepped foot on a WNBA court, I could only imagine how they would have treated her. I don't even think she would have made it through half the season. She would have had a season-ending injury.
You've got to understand, this deal was never just about the money. It was the WNBA's public love letter, a desperate plea that basically said, "Caitlin, please don't leave us. You are the heartbeat of this league." But then came the twist no one saw coming. Clark didn't just say no. She detonated the entire room. This was a nuclear-level rejection, the kind that makes the person offering it instantly replay every decision that got them here. Imagine the commissioner, months in the making, setting up the perfect proposal. Fireworks ready, cameras rolling in 4K, fans on standby, only to get turned down in front of everyone. Brutal. But here's the plot twist. Clark doesn't need their deal. With mega endorsements from Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, and practically every major brand fighting for her attention, she's already earning more than double what the league was offering. Smiling in ads and casually splashing logo threes pays way better than any league check. The WNBA thought they were offering her the dream contract. But Caitlin Clark knows her worth. She's not just a player anymore. She's the show, the headline, the reason casual fans even flip the channel to watch.
And she declined it. If that doesn't tell you how much money Caitlin Clark is making, I don't know, bro. Because who's saying no to $15 million for 10 games? She doesn't even have to score 10 points and she still would be making more than a lot of NBA players make. But Caitlin Clark isn't even back from an injury yet to play for the Indiana Fever. Do you guys think Caitlin Clark should have taken this $15 million deal?
At this point, Caitlin Clark isn't just a player. She's the league's lifeline, the Wi-Fi of the WNBA. Sure, technically you can survive without Wi-Fi, but good luck getting anyone to hang around. The fallout from her rejection hit like a lightning strike. Fans instantly split into two camps. One side crowning her a genius for knowing her worth, the other calling her reckless for throwing away the deal of a lifetime. Sports media completely lost its grip, spinning the story like a Wall Street crash mixed with a royal family scandal. Headlines practically shouted, "Is Caitlin Clark destroying the WNBA?" And you can bet the league office was asking themselves the exact same thing. Because here's the reality. Without Clark, the WNBA risks sliding right back into obscurity, battling for airtime against cornhole tournaments and 2 a.m. bowling reruns. That $50 million offer wasn't charity. It was survival, pure and simple. And Clark reminded them that she doesn't need the league nearly as much as the league needs her. It was like Netflix begging Taylor Swift for an exclusive concert film, only for her to laugh and say, "That's cute. I made more selling vinyl last week." The power balance flipped overnight, and the WNBA absolutely did not handle it quietly. Nope. The league went into full-blown panic mode, scrambling behind the scenes, desperate to figure out what their next move should be.
Caitlin Clark, they would have no fans. And I think that a lot of people are forgetting the fact that just, again, a few years ago, before Caitlin Clark was in the league, this is what it looked like at a WNBA
Step inside the WNBA war room right after Caitlin Clark's shocking no. The vibe? Absolute chaos. Executives are pacing like caged animals, jackets off, sweat on their foreheads, whispering about where they could possibly find another $20 million. The social media team is in panic mode, spamming every feed with hype clips, trending hashtags, and those painfully corny, "we're growing the game" quotes. But it's too late. The narrative has already escaped into the wild. Caitlin Clark just made the boldest power move in league history, and everyone knows it. Now the real question looms over the entire sport. What does this mean for the WNBA going forward? If a single player can stare down a once-in-a-lifetime $50 million offer and walk away like it's nothing, what does that say about the league's grip on its stars? And trust me, Caitlin isn't the only one taking notes. Other players are watching closely, weighing their options, and realizing just how much leverage they might have. Meanwhile, somewhere, the commissioner is lying in bed at 3 a.m., replaying that rejection over and over, wondering how a dream deal turned into a public disaster. And here's the thing. If you think the WNBA is just going to roll over and quietly move on, you've got another thing coming. This league doesn't go silent. It fights back. And if this is the opening act, the drama ahead is going to be next level.
And speaking of basketball, your cousin Caitlin Clark just got an 8-figure deal with Nike.
Yeah.
A lot of people in our community is up in arms. They not feeling that. They mad Aja Wilson don't got a shoe yet. And it's simple math, bro. Aja Wilson played in the championship for the WNBA, and the final game peaked at like 1.2 million. Caitlin Clark played in the Final Four, and the game before the championship game peaked at 17 million viewers.
Caitlin Clark is gonna come to the Wnba and violate that shit.
This wasn't just a rejection. It was a public gut punch broadcast for the entire world to see. Imagine planning the most over-the-top surprise party ever. You book Beyonce, rent out a whole stadium, bring in celebrity chefs, and line up fireworks, only for the guest of honor to not even show. That's the level of humiliation the commissioner must have felt, except worse, because this was happening live with millions watching. The league's first move? Total denial. Almost instantly, reports started flooding timelines with anonymous insiders claiming Caitlin hadn't really rejected the offer, that negotiations were just ongoing or more complicated than people realized. Translation: the WNBA was scrambling to cover its tracks faster than a teenager clearing their browser history when they hear their parents coming upstairs. But once the denial phase passed, the league shifted into anger, not the screaming kind, but the calculated, strategic kind. Caitlin wasn't just playing hardball. She was 5 moves ahead, playing chess while the entire league was still figuring out which way the checkerboard faced. And the internet? Oh, it went nuclear. Memes started flying within minutes. Clips of the commissioner sweating at press conferences got captioned with brutal one-liners like, "When you realize your entire business plan rests on a 22-year-old." Fake WNBA promos popped up online reading things like, "Please, Caitlin, we'll throw in free snacks for life." It was savage, hilarious, and proof once again that the internet never passes up an opportunity to dunk on desperation.
NBA needs to do something about this. Kathy Engelberg, you need to get a hold of what's going on here. The officiating Kelsey Mitchell getting knocked around like a damn pinball, shoots 4 free throws. Aaliyah Boston plays an entire game as big, as strong, as physical as she is. Aaliyah Boston shoots 0 free throws. And she wasn't standing at the 3-point line. The officiating is flat out atrocious. Everybody else is getting calls. I think it's ridiculous. Just the fact that Aaliyah Boston shot 0 free throws tells you everything in itself.
Fans didn't just react. They erupted, splitting into 2 fiery camps almost instantly. On one side, you had the loyalists calling Caitlin Clark everything from a diva to ungrateful, claiming she was spitting on the very league that gave her a stage. But let's keep it real. The WNBA didn't make Caitlin Clark famous. Caitlin Clark made the WNBA matter. Before her, WNBA highlights were buried so far down your timeline, they were practically next to your uncle's dusty VHS collection. Then Clark showed up. Suddenly arenas were selling out. TV ratings were hitting highs nobody thought possible. And casual fans were actually talking about the league at barbecues and in group chats. On the other side stood her supporters, and they weren't just clapping, they were giving her a standing ovation. To them, this wasn't arrogance, it was next-level business smarts. Why tie yourself to a long-term league deal when your endorsements, media appearances, and personal brand can easily make triple the money? And without the grind of back-to-back games in half-empty arenas. Things got so big that one major network even hosted a full-blown panel asking the question, did Caitlin Clark just end the WNBA before it ever truly began? That's the kind of coverage usually reserved for alien invasions or political scandals, not a contract dispute. But here's the truth, chaos sells. And Caitlin Clark didn't just create chaos. She plated it up and served it to the entire sports world on a perfectly polished silver platter.
Something that do not be surprised if President Trump speaks on with that kind of audience that is protective of a Caitlin Clark and what she stands for and what she represents. And they come to a conclusion that they believe she is being unfairly treated. That is going to be a problem for the WNBA. And based on Trump's history with the NFL and him being an obvious sports fan, goes to events and stuff like that, he pays attention to this kind of stuff. I'm just warning them, watch it, because if he gets involved and that base gets involved, because somehow, some way they embrace victimhood on a part of
Caitlin Clark's rejection didn't just shake the WNBA. It sent shockwaves straight through TV network boardrooms. This was a straight-up gut punch for broadcasters who only signed on because Caitlin guaranteed ratings, sold-out arenas, and viral moments. Without her, that shiny new media deal instantly looked a whole lot less like an investment and a whole lot more like a gamble. For the players, this was more than news, it was a revelation. For years, they'd been told to take whatever the league offered, smile, and say thank you. Then Caitlin showed them a different playbook, completely flipping the script and proving they might have far more leverage than they'd ever been led to believe. And do not underestimate how much this shook the commissioner personally. This was no longer just about money. It was about control. That $50 million wasn't just a paycheck. It was a golden set of handcuffs designed to keep Caitlin under the league's umbrella, to make sure her spotlight never left their control. By rejecting it, she basically said, "You don't own me." For a commissioner used to players saying yes to crumbs, this was an ego-crushing wake-up call. The wildest part? Caitlin didn't even need to defend herself. Her silence was louder than any press conference. She had already broken every record, sold out every arena, and instead of signing away her freedom, she flipped the entire power dynamic on its head. It was like finding water in the middle of the desert, only for the water to smirk and say, "Actually, I'm not interested in being bottled right now." Suddenly, this wasn't just a contract story. It became a case study in empowerment, a blueprint for every player who ever felt underpaid or undervalued. And trust me, every locker room in the league was watching closely, taking notes, and quietly imagining what might happen if they made the same move.
The WNBA did it because the sisters was upset that Caitlin was getting so much attention, and they had to, the league had to hold Caitlin back or allow Caitlin to be held back with the refs, allowing the physical play against her by the players, the media diminishing her impact at every turn, and her play, and the league never coming to her defense to try to thwart off some of her.
And let's be clear, this wasn't the kind of empowerment you see on a glossy WNBA poster with a catchy slogan. No, this was the raw, unpolished, executive nightmare kind of empowerment, the type that keeps people in suits awake at night. By this point, the league's meltdown was obvious, and the damage was permanent. Caitlin Clark had just redrawn the entire power map, making it crystal clear that the leverage didn't sit in the commissioner's office, or in the boardroom, or even with the networks. It sat entirely with her, and she proved it by casually walking away from $50 million like it was nothing. Here's the part that really stung. Caitlin didn't say no because she wanted more. She said no because she didn't need it. She already has an empire outside the league. Nike basically rolled out a gold-plated runway for her. Gatorade likely has warehouses full of bottles with her face on them. State Farm could pick up the phone today, and she'd be filming a national ad campaign by sunset. Add in her unstoppable social media presence, millions of views on every highlight, fans ready to buy anything she endorses, and suddenly, that so-called mega deal looked less like a dream and more like pocket change. Caitlyn didn't even hesitate, because for her, the WNBA's $50 million was just small potatoes. She's playing in a different league now, one where the scoreboard isn't measured in points or paychecks, but in influence and reach.
NBA hates Caitlin Clark. She is a white girl in a predominantly black league who's better than all of them. Even with everything that's going right now with the pay us what you owe us shirt, you saw Kelsey Plum at the end of it tattletale basically and bring out Caitlin Clark about her team not being there. The
league really thought it was making the ultimate power play, the kind of headline-grabbing move that would lock down its future. But Caitlin Clark flipped the script and turned that $50 million offer into a national punchline. Instead of shrinking her brand, rejecting the deal supercharged it. Overnight, she wasn't just a superstar anymore. She became the athlete who made the WNBA look desperate. She became the woman bold enough to say, "Keep your record-breaking contract. I've got bigger plans." And here's the thing. In sports, nothing is more valuable than leverage. Nothing. Caitlyn just showed the entire world what real leverage looks like. But this is bigger than just one deal. This is about the entire future of women's sports. For years, female athletes have been told to smile, take whatever they're offered, talk about growing the game, and never dare question the massive pay gap hanging over them. Caitlyn blew that script to pieces. By walking away from the biggest deal in league history, she sent a message to every player watching. Gratitude doesn't pay the bills, leverage does. And this wasn't some risky roll of the dice. Caitlyn knows exactly where she stands. The endorsement world is a gold rush right now, and she's the gunslinger riding into town already knowing she owns the place. Here's the kicker. The WNBA thought this deal would secure their future. Instead, it exposed just how fragile that future really is. Because if one 22-year-old can flip the entire league upside down with a single shrug, what happens when others start testing their value too? Caitlyn might have just lit the first match of a revolution, and she didn't even have to say a word to do it.
They offered Caitlin Clark $15 million to play in 10 games. That's $1.5 million per game, bro. And she turned it down. Caitlin Clark, you so much better than me. The WNBA would have never, hey listen, I would have never stepped foot on that court. $1.5 million per game. Bron don't even make that. And you turned it down for her contract in the WNBA, she gonna make like $400,000 in 4 years. That's the part that I don't really understand about WNBA players. They make so much bread everywhere else. They be making more bread in college. They make more bread overseas. They can make more in Unrivaled, the Big Three. There's so many options, but they still be playing in the WNBA.
The commissioner is almost certainly still lying awake at night, replaying that moment like a nightmare that just won't stop looping. Imagine being in their shoes for a second. You pull every string, call in every favor, and craft the biggest, boldest contract the league has ever put on the table. You present it like it's the crown jewel, the deal that will finally secure the league's future. And then, the player you've placed all your hopes, marketing campaigns, and revenue projections on doesn't just say no. It feels like she laughed while walking away. That isn't just rejection. That's the kind of moment that sticks in your mind forever, living rent-free and haunting every future decision. Here's the wild part. Caitlin Clark didn't need to fire off a tweet, hold a press conference, or make a single statement. Her answer has been loud and clear every time she steps onto the court. Every packed arena, every record-breaking viewership number, every viral clip that blows up the internet. All of it drives home the same message. She's in complete control. The harder the WNBA tries to spin this as a win for them, the more obvious it becomes that Caitlyn is the one holding all the cards. And let's be real, she's not just enjoying the spectacle from the sidelines. She's rewriting the entire playbook. Turning down $50 million wasn't a gamble, it was a declaration. She's redefining what it means to have power in modern sports, showing the world that it doesn't live in some boardroom or commissioner's office. True power belongs to the stars who know their worth and have the courage to act on it. Right now, the WNBA needs Caitlin Clark far more than Caitlin Clark will ever need the WNBA. With one perfectly timed no, she reminded every athlete, fan, and executive watching exactly who sets the terms in this new era of sports. And here's where you come in. This is just the beginning. Do you think Caitlyn just sparked a movement that could change women's sports forever? Or did she simply make the smartest business decision of her career? Drop your thoughts, debates, and hot takes below, because this conversation is far from over.